You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. So what you are seeing, obviously this extremely targeted effort on the part of the campaign. And you're seeing, of course, when we talk about that particular speech that took place today in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, showing the contrast between the two individuals, between, of course, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. When you talk about, again, the whole issue of partisanship, when you talk about what's happening with COVID-19, joining us right now is Alan Williams. He's a strategic advisor for the Joe Biden campaign. Alan?
Hey, how you doing? It's great to be on with you, Roland, on Roland Martin Unfiltered, to talk about what you just talked about. What you laid out was Vice President Biden's very, very strong speech and really charge to America at a very historical location at a very historical time.
Obviously, you talked about white extremists in that particular speech as well, which, of course, the FBI director has talked about. Let me play that, and I'm going to come back and chat with you about that.
Okay.
It's not the worst. I'll be a president who pushes toward the future, not one who clings to the past. I'm ready to fight for you and for our nation every day, without exception, without reservation, and with a full and devoted heart. We cannot and will not allow extremists and white supremacists to overturn the America of Lincoln and Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, to overturn the America that has welcomed immigrants from distant shores, to overturn the America that has been a haven and a home for everyone, no matter their background. From Seneca Falls to Selma to Stonewall, we're at our best when the promised America is available to all. We cannot and we will not allow violence in the street to threaten the people of this nation. We cannot and will not walk away from our obligation to, at long last, face the reckoning on race and racial justice in this country. We cannot and will not continue to be struck in the partisan politics that lets us, this virus, thrive while the public health of this nation suffers. We cannot and will not accept an economic equation that only favors those who've already got it made. Everybody deserves a shot at prosperity.
Alan, how, though, can he make a direct connection with black men? We're seeing in battleground states right now, Donald Trump is polling at 15 to 20% among African-American men. And so what must that message be to specifically be to black men for them to support Joe Biden?
Well, I think it's the totality of the entire ticket. Obviously, the work that Vice President Biden has done over his career it speaks for itself. And I leverage the words of our good friend and Majority Whip Congressman Clyburn when he said back in South Carolina back in February, he said, "Look, in March, he said, we know Joe, but most of all, Joe knows us." And look, his pick of Kamala Harris as vice president, it says it all. When we look at the ad that you just ran earlier where it talked about when a black woman is lifted up, she lifts up the entire community. That goes all the way back to days gone by when she had to work and do the things that she had to do, not only for other families, but for her family. And now fast forward to what we saw today with Michelle Obama gave a closing argument, if you will, of herself on why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris should be the leadership that we use and go forward with for the next 4 years versus going backwards over the past 4 years with the lack of leadership that we've had.
But here's the issue, Alan. And look, I totally agree with that. But here's the point that a couple of things that's missing. One, they need black men making the argument as well in a high-profile way. That's one. Two, what they also have to do is speak specifically to issues. Because here's what I have been hearing from brothers all across the country. Remember, There was a 9-point gap between black men and black women for Obama-Romney in 2012. It went up to 13 points between black men and black women with Trump and Hillary Clinton. It could be 20 points. Republicans, they're banking on that. Lynn Patton put out this video where she's like, "Hey, look, they are laser like." I watched on Sunday. There were ads during NFL games where Jack Brewer, former NFL player, was running during multiple times during every single NFL game. And so again, how are they making the specific argument based upon issues? Not Joe knows us, but this is what Joe is going to do if he's elected. How does that appeal to black men?
Well, I think what we have to realize is that, one, when you look at individuals like Chris Paul, for example, who is in his home state, in the battleground state of North Carolina, who talks about the work that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will do by raising the minimum wage to $15. When we talk about increasing black home ownership, when we talk about reforming the criminal justice system, when Joe Biden went and met with the family of George Floyd, he just didn't do that to pander or cater to the times. He sat down, as we know Vice President Biden has done over his career. He sat down with young Gianna Floyd and said, we're going to do something about what happened to your dad. And when she leaned in and told the vice president that my dad changed the world, that stuck with him. And I can tell you that we've been on countless calls with not only the vice president and Senator Harris, but the entire team. And we hearken those words from Gianna when we say, you know what, we're going to do better. We're going to build this country back better. Not only are we suffering through a pandemic of a health crisis, but we're suffering through a pandemic of lack of leadership over these past 4 years. And so it's incumbent upon us as black men to make sure that we get out and tell our brothers, we can't do it like we normally would do all the time in the barbershops, at church, after church, doing football games, high school and college. But we have to get on the phone. We have to get out, share our message that we are supporting Joe Biden, not because we disagree with Donald Trump. We're supporting Joe Biden because he's going to help our country move forward. He's going to bring back that coalition that we saw in 2008 all the way to 2016 when he was the right hand to Barack Obama. And so I believe that we have a chance with our vote to choose the direction of our country. If we don't vote, then we give Donald Trump another shot. And so we have to get out there and encourage our brothers. That is so critically important to vote and vote for Biden-Harris. And that's what I'm doing each and every day. We saw today in Florida that we had a breakdown in our voter registration system. We saw leaders, we saw black men rally around that. And now they extended the voter registration for another day up until 7 p.m. tonight. And so tomorrow night, we're going to see Senator, soon-to-be Vice President Harris, Senator Harris, reinforce that argument. And she's going to talk directly to the American people about the Biden-Harris vision for a better country. And I believe that she's going to talk about how they got plans to attack the COVID-19 crisis, to make our economy stronger and better, but also to bring our country back together. Just like Vice President Biden talked about in Gettysburg today, we are better than this. We are better than this.
Here's what I would suggest. One, and I have been saying this since last year, Joe Biden and or Senator Kamala Harris needs to do a black male-specific town hall, Zoom, or whatever, targeting these brothers, speaking to the issues. There are brothers out there who have believed the disinformation about her record when she was Attorney General and District Attorney. There are people who are raising questions saying that when it came to Joe Biden and the crime bill. And so again, I totally understand surrogates. I totally understand the shop talk they're having on Thursday, but there needs to be a tailored, aggressive effort speaking to these black men. Look, there were 90,000 people who left the top of the ticket unmarked in Michigan in 2016. That could have been the difference between Trump winning the state and Hillary Clinton winning the state. And so I'm simply talking about, look, bottom line is, this is where you leave no doubt. The Republicans, we see what Donald Trump is trying to do, how they want to steal the election. My deal is you got to maximize it as much as possible. And I see what they're doing, targeting black women. Totally get it. What I'm saying is, look, don't even let up for a second on the other side. I've talked to black pollsters. I've talked to black campaign folks, people with political action committees, and there are many others who are sounding that alarm. And what I'm saying is the campaign needs to be more aggressive in tailoring a message. And look, I've run the Shop Talk ad, and that's fine, but every black man doesn't sit in the barbershop. And I'm saying there has to be engagement on a consistent basis, and it has to, they must hear from Joe Biden specifically and Kamala Harris specifically on this very point. That's all I'm saying, a message that needs to be taken back to the campaign. As a brother who streams this show, I'm looking here on comments on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. I know what emails I'm getting. So I'm getting a 360-degree view of what's happening out here when it comes to black folks in this campaign, but specifically brothers.
Well, Roland, I will tell you that your voice, your platform is tremendous, and the ability to come on here tonight and share with you why we believe the direction that the Biden-Harris campaign will take our country is so important. We believe, obviously, that Senator Kamala Harris is going to do a phenomenal job tomorrow night in Salt Lake City as she goes up against Vice President Pence. But I think we have to really dive into it. And I think you're absolutely right if you talk about engaging men of color.
No, not men of color. Black men.
Okay, black men. Men like me.
You black. We ain't men of color. We black.
We're black men. And I would say that what Senator Harris and what Vice President Biden has done and will continue to do is show the stark differences between our direction for the country, which is a direction for black men, and a direction for the country under the current leadership. And we believe, and I think you're right. I mean, there are times where we can do a stronger case, and we will do that. And I think a lot of times for black men, we have to dive into this in a way that we haven't with other segments of our community. But I will tell you that I think the fact that they're going to create good paying jobs, that you're talking about putting over $5 billion into lending for black businesses, for those individuals who have their small business that's being just ripped apart by this coronavirus and the lack of leadership that we have from the White House. We have an opportunity to build on the Affordable Care Act and make sure that all of our families have health care, right? And so there's so many different issues that we can really touch on, but I will tell you the most important argument I think that we can make is that as black men, we have to understand that the direction of our country is at stake. It's at stake, Roland. And
I agree.
When you think about
that's why I'm so passionate about this, and I'm like, yo, this is real.
And look, the other side has shown that they have blatant disregard for our community, and no amount of platitudes, no amount of folks at the RNC convention that wanted to talk about how black they are. You had to go and find like 3 or 4 people, and that was it. Our tent, the Biden-Harris campaign, is built on and built around not only women, but also men of color, black men who are in key strategic positions that are helping the vice president articulate what we feel as black men each and every day.
I got to ask you this here.
I'll tell you, for me, on this day 2 years ago, I lost my dad to pancreatic cancer. And I will tell you that I understand the impact that poor health care has on our community. And that's why I know that a Biden-Harris ticket and a Biden-Harris administration will ensure that we have better health care for our men, better jobs for our black men, better opportunities for our black men than what we have currently under this current administration.
I gotta ask you this here. And I gotta ask you about this tweet that Uncle Luke Luther Campbell sent out. You're there in Florida. You used to be in the Florida legislature. Luther said, "Let me tell you this, Senator Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, you will not win Florida if you don't bring me, Plies, Rick Ross, Trina the Rockstar, City Girls, Pitbull, Lil Duval to the table. We rep the streets of Florida. And then, of course, he said if Joe Biden has to call Lil Duval, Trick Daddy, Rick Ross, Plies, Pitbull, Trina City Girls, they will lose Florida. Now, Biden was just in Florida on yesterday. What is the black focus there? I go back to 2018. When I look at even with Andrew Gillum, Miami-Dade, only 57% turnout of available voters. When you look at that chart that showed the top counties, Broward and Miami-Dade County were in the bottom numbers in terms of turnout. And so how aggressive is the Biden-Harris campaign on driving the black vote in Florida? We see his numbers. He's below Hillary Clinton's numbers with Latinos. Trump is appealing to Cubans and Venezuelans. But what about the black vote? African Americans, Haitians, Bahamians, and others there in Florida.
Well, I would tell you that we are leaving no stone unturned. We are engaging every aspect of the African diaspora as it relates to the state of Florida and really throughout the country. We are not allowing what we saw happen in either in 2018 or in 2016 to repeat itself. We are engaging in every way possible, and we're showing the stark contrast between our vision, the Biden-Harris administration's vision, and what we currently see in the White House. And I believe that African Americans, African American men, men of faith, will stand up and say, you know what, we can't sit on the sidelines. You know, it's football season right now, and we understand about sitting on the sidelines. We got to get in the game. And so we're doing all we can to make sure we get folks in the game. We appreciate, supporters like Luther Campbell, who is a big advocate in his community. We love the work that he does down there to make sure that folks understand the issues that are impacting the community of South Florida, really the entire state, and all the other celebrities and surrogates. But it's not just about celebrities. It's about, that guy who goes home every day from working 2 jobs to make sure that his daughter can make it through college. It's that mother who's working 3 jobs to make sure that her son and her daughter have a chance better than they had. And we know that under a Biden-Harris administration, that load gets a little bit lighter, but the work still goes forward. And so we continue to listen to the voice of John Lewis that says the most powerful tool in a nonviolent community is the vote. And so we know that early voting is coming up. Folks can request their vote by mail ballot. We're encouraging them to do that and get it back in, but also go out and vote early. One of my city commissioners here in Tallahassee said, don't be a November 3rd voter, be an October voter. And so we're encouraging everyone to get a plan to go and vote by mail or voting early, but be an October voter. So on November 3rd, you can sit back, watch the returns, and watch the country move in the right direction. But we need everyone to get out and vote and go to iwillvote.com.
All right, then. Alan Williams with the Biden campaign. We surely appreciate it, brother. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And Steve, you can tell I tolerate captions.
Lewis, you say hello.
And by the way, Alan, the Florida Alphas sent me this shirt right here. Take the fight to the polls. The bottom says vote. So I don't know what y'all Kappa's doing, but I know what the brothers in Fort Lauderdale are doing.
Hey, the Noop's all about achievement, Roland, but we're all in this together. Whether you're Alpha, whether you're Kappa, Q, Sigma, Iota.
All right.
Black men, we need you to stand up.
Well, I want to see the Kappa shirts out there saying vote. I ain't going to wear it, but I want to see it. All right, Alan, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yo, Noops.
All right, folks, bringing my panel, Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for the Environmental Justice EPA, Lauren Victoria Burke, NNPA, writer Joseph Pinion, Republican strategist and political commentator. In a second, I'm going to be talking with Reverend Dr. William J. Barber about voter suppression. I'll start with you, Mustafa. Again, the point I'm making is this here. When you're trying to leave no doubt, that means you go after every single vote. And again, I've been yelling from the top of the roof since 2016 when those numbers look. There's something out there. There are black men who say, look, I can't trust either side. And so I don't believe that they're out there for me. When you look at younger black men, it's there as well. That's why I keep saying you have to have the candidates speak directly to that demographic and not dance around it. Don't use people of color. Don't talk about black men as a way, black women as a way to get to black men. No, you gotta speak to that group directly.
Without a doubt. I mean, so many folks always forget the streets. They make some assumptions. You know, I appreciate what Brother Williams was saying, but the reality of the deal is that if you don't have those gatekeepers from the street, and that doesn't mean it has to be Uncle Luke, and I appreciate Uncle Luke over the years. You know, there are all kinds of other artists and creatives that people, you know, who are the corners respect and will open their minds to. And then, of course, you got to be talking about jobs and justice and healthcare and housing. But definitely jobs, justice, if you're talking to black men, especially folks who maybe haven't had the same set of opportunities, who are wondering exactly how are you going to help me to be able to move forward? What are those opportunities going to be? Because we know all boats don't rise the same. Some boats got some holes in them. Some boats ain't got no oars. So you can't give that, you know, just generality speech and assume that that is going to resonate with folks who have often been unheard and unseen. You got to get straight to it. And you also got to have the folks engaged whom they respect and who they see and who they know care about their communities. And when you don't do that, you leave the gaps that you've been talking about.
Lauren, again, if actually go to Joseph. Joseph, you have Republicans. Again, Donald Trump is he's using the First Step Act. Look at that ad that they ran with Jack Brewer, all those brothers talking at the convention. Their whole deal is like, Harris, Biden have done nothing. Trump has done these great things. They're appealing also to the pocketbook of black men, small business owners, things along that. And there are a lot of stuff that they're not saying, such as not giving a damn about police consent decrees, don't want to take out progressive DAs. There's a whole bunch we can talk about, but this is a very specific strategy of the White House. They told me 2 years ago they believe they could get 20% of the black male vote in 2020 election.
Look, I think that we have to acknowledge the fact that we have a lot of politicians who are Democrats who have been feeding lip service and comfort food to the masses, and particularly black communities, for far too long. And at some point, it was going to be inevitable that a certain portion of the community started to turn a deaf ear to the entreaties of Democratic politicians. And I think for better and for worse, that day has finally come. And so it's very difficult, I think, for certain people, particularly younger people, to go and get them to act as if somehow the First Step Act is a figment of their imagination, to act as if somehow that if they were the recipient of one of the 7 million jobs pre-COVID, that was somehow a figment of their imagination. And so I think it's been incumbent on Democrats, and possibly to their detriment, the inability to articulate why any of those things were either A, insufficient, or why they were unable to get some of those things done previously on their watch. So I think that is what we're seeing right now, particularly with younger black men who, again, look at somebody like Kamala Harris and see somebody who had the power to do yesterday what she's promising to do tomorrow when she was the chief law enforcement official in the state of California. And many of the same reforms that people were talking about then or today, many of the reforms that somebody like Tim Scott were talking about, she had the power to try to implement or at least try to sway. And from the outside looking in, many people feel she did not deliver.
But here's the deal, Lauren. This is real simple. This is, to me, where Democrats have absolutely failed. Let's just be honest. The First Step Act would not be exactly what it was if it wasn't for Democrats. Initially, all Trump wanted to do was jail reform. When that bill got passed in the House, first of all, it doesn't go through the House unless Congressman Hakeem Jeffries shepherds it through, Democrat. It doesn't do anything in the Senate unless Senator Cory Booker, Senator Kamala Harris, Dick Durbin, and yes, Republican Chuck Grassley say, no. There's got to be more teeth to this. And so Donald Trump is actually taking credit for something that Democrats said had to be in it, and it was Republicans who blocked criminal justice reform under Obama. I don't understand why Democrats don't make the argument saying, hold up, y'all taking credit, that bill ain't nothing without us demanding the changes be put in it. I haven't heard them make that case.
I suspect they could make that case. It is an example of a piece of hard legislation that disproportionately impacts the Black community. The only thing it doesn't impact numerically that many people. So I suspect the Democrats don't necessarily want to talk about it generally for that reason. You know, I would say just globally, though, that this is sort of familiar territory, the way the Biden campaign is campaigning with regard to Black men. I mean, generally what happens is there's this very general talk about healthcare and jobs and no specificity with regard to the more granular issues, mandatory minimums. I think you already brought up qualified immunity and those things that are disproportionately impacting Black men specifically. Like, that's the stuff that nobody really wants to talk about. The fact that he wanted to use the phrase men of color, I think, is extremely telling, you know, as you pointed out. But this is the game, and this is a game that they can play very easily in this cycle because we have somebody in the White House who's literally dangerous. So they can argue that you have to pick Joe Biden because we got a dangerous guy, a crazy guy in the White House. That argument is correct. It's accurate. It's true. So you will not get the deeper discussion about the authorship of Joe Biden of the Clinton crime bill. You will not get the deeper discussion about exactly what it is he proposes to do about some of the issues that disproportionately impact Black people, specifically Black men, the school to prison pipeline issues. Obviously, the over-incarceration, the over-policing, the disproportionate weed arrest. I mean, does Biden want to talk about in any way legalizing marijuana? I mean, what conversation are we having about that? And we're not going to have that conversation because they can get away with what they're getting away with because of Donald Trump. So that's where it's at, and that's probably where it will remain.
Well, bottom line is this here. There are things that you can talk about, but you got to talk specific issues. And again, this whole notion of somewhere you running away from the fact that Democrats made that bill substantive, and without House Democrats, it doesn't even get to the Senate. Maybe the whole ideal is, well, he signed it, he's taking credit for it, but that's still crazy. I don't care if 9,000 or 10,000 folks got released. You take credit when you did something. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, we support Black-owned businesses here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. The folks at Seek.com, they, of course, have a couple of things. Their virtual reality headset right here, folks. You just drop your cell phone right in. You can look at their content on Seek.com or look at 360-degree video right here through this headset. It's actually, it's pretty fabulous to actually be in the room, in the place with that virtual reality video. They also have these great 360-degree 4D headphones. Gamers love them. You can listen to music, watch videos, great surround sound. All of that's great. These two devices here you can get from Seek.com, CEEK.com. Use the promo code RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020. And we certainly thank Mary Spiel, the founder of the company, and the folks at Seek.com for being supporters of Roland Martin Unfiltered.